activate!
Here we come, there they go. People rise, 'cause they know we're super soldiers. We got cool clothes. You will soon, you see our pose. Tension, energize, mask on. Time to ride. Combine, grease ties.
Oh, hi there. I'm drinking because I'm thirsty for action. Action Activate! That's right, Action Activate. And if I am Gazbot, which I am, and this is Action Activate, then with me as always.
Oh, I was about to take a sip because I too am thirsty for action. It is I, the big dog.
Welcome, Big Dog. How goes it?
It goes. Today is, a day I didn't think we'd hit in kind of this Power Rangers timeline where we usually take a while to catch up on Netflix seasons when they release because, we go week to week and then sometimes we miss weeks and then sometimes other things pop up and, gobbledygook. But now
Goop, indeed.
we have reached the end of part 1 of season 2 of Dino Fury, and they haven't announced when part 2 comes out yet.
They will. You know when they're going to announce it?
Tomorrow.
Next week. Full disclosure, everybody. Next week, Big Dog will not be around, so there will not be an official Action Activate episode. He or I might decide to upload a little thing just for the heck of it, but don't expect a regular episode because he'll be gone all week. But that's when they're going to announce it. I bet. While you're gone, they're going to be like, "It's coming back tomorrow." So they're like,
But episode
11.
11 of
Copycat.
Dino Fury season 2. Right off the bat, initial impressions, like this better than last week's.
I don't know if I liked it better than last week's.
Wow. I actively disliked last week's.
Let me go back to us. This picture. I'm trying to think what I liked. I will say this episode this week didn't have a lot. It did not have a lot that I did not like. Most of it was fine or good. Very little of it was great, but there wasn't a lot of like low points. What was the low point last week? What was your big gripe last week? I don't know.
To be honest, I'm trying to think of what they did. It was the Zord stuff.
It was Void Knight. Oh, they're fighting the new enemy, the new Sporks enemy that was able to defeat Void Knight essentially. And then he gave the Super Morpher key, the Dino key to Zato, and he powered up. And
no, that was 2 weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago?
Yes. Last week had like 3 different Zord. Oh yeah, it was that collar one.
Yeah. Oh, there was some goofy stuff last week. All right, so this one might be a little bit better. I'll give you that. But suffers from being the final episode of this half season, and in that it fails miserably. Now, this shows that, but that is what happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is clearly a middle of the season episode, not one that they would end on a quote unquote cliffhanger until they come back. So I gave it the benefit of the doubt where they picked an arbitrary number, and if there's 22 episodes, they're like, we're cutting it here. Whereas we talked about a couple episodes back where it seemed like that was we do 8 and then you get a long gap and then you get them all. Like that seemed more planned, where this one I was like, I'm not going to treat it as a finale episode because it's not to me, but overall I liked it better.
I was trying not to, but I couldn't help. But even though I knew it was going to be a little disappointing, I think it was a very average, fine episode.
Yeah, it was fine.
But I'm just wanting it to be better. And as much as I knew that it wasn't a cliffhanger, I wanted it to be some kind of crazy. So I think that's it. I think it was objectively probably better than last week, but I feel like the same about it, where I'm like, I just want more, I
liked this way better because I didn't have major grievances. And also full transparency, am biased toward it because I'm like, well, I don't have to wait very long until, episodes come back. So if I have to wait a month or 2 months or whatever,
that's how long it's been for us to get through this, you mean?
Exactly. So like any grievances I would have, like, oh, that didn't end very satisfactorily. I understand that affected a lot of you, but not the big dog. due to me just being like, we take forever. Whatever. I didn't get spoiled.
I do think the B plot was decent. They did a good job.
Yeah.
They've been really developing Javi a lot.
Yes.
And his relationship with his family and his music. Jane and Jayborg were used just fine. They set this thing up. Nothing went crazy wrong.
Totally good. There was no slapstick, which I appreciated so much.
The only bit of slapstick was at the very end, spoilers, with Mucus, and I was fine with that. It was very.
I didn't even consider that slapstick.
Well, but I'm saying the only like goofy bit they put in was that, and I'm like, this is an appropriate character. It's kind of silly. It's like old school monster hijinks. Like I liked that. You know, that was fun.
Same.
Yeah. So weirdly, yeah, like I don't really have a lot to say here. This was all fine, and then they brought back the musician from the earlier episode. Oh, the little pop up thing. That was some hijinks, but it didn't bother me because I find that.
Yeah, pop is pop. I really didn't like the cowboy hat judge.
I think we're not supposed to.
I know we're not supposed to, but she was so inconsistent with the other judges that I'm like, why are you there?
I don't watch enough of these reality competition shows, but I feel like
I do.
Okay, so maybe she's like an archetype that they're like.
I think that's what they were going for, but it was just like she just seemed like grumpy all the time. And the only thing this early in the episode, I was like, if she somehow name drops Levi, I will mildly forgive it. But then she didn't. So I was like, I don't care anymore. You're just
she's wearing yellow and gold too. Yeah.
And a cowboy hat.
Yeah. She definitely seemed annoyed later too when Javi did well. Like, so yeah, maybe there was like some subplot that got cut out or whatever. But yeah, the pop-up stuff was goofy, but I didn't mind it. Oh, and then okay, so they bring back the musician from they see Screaming Zombies that episode. So again, it's weird that like towards the end, like Javi is definitely taking the lead of like character development and backstory and character arc, like beyond most people at this point. Yeah. And the whole like, is he second in command? Which we're kind of saying, oh, I think he is. This solidified reinforces that for sure. Yeah. He's second in command.
The other thing I liked is a lot of times
I like this guy's version of the song better, though. To be honest,
I don't know.
It was a little bit more emo pop punk with the strumming and.
Oh yeah, I'm all about the emo pop punk. Believe you me. I think part of the reason I didn't like it was because it was the guy. And yeah, I was just like, grumble, I don't like you.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you're not supposed to like him, but just outside of the universe, I think his version suited my sensibilities. And Javi's big thing, like he did a little bit more soulful, more melodic, and then he's like, plus I can play a bunch of the instruments. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to hear us like on stage, that's impressive. Excuse me, but again, in the real world, if I'm hearing some song and then in the middle, it's like here's a guitar and then like a harmonica. I'm like, what? Like, I don't want. That's weird. Like,
what was I gonna say? The one thing I will say, it's not often, but whenever we get original songs in Ranger seasons, 9.5 times out of 10, they're just awful. They're just noise. You don't want to hear them. You can't wait till they're over. This was a thing where I'm like, we heard this song at least 3 times in this episode, and I'm like, this is a good song and I like it. Well done, guys.
And I would bet money that Chase, who plays Javi, plays guitar.
Oh, probably. He had to.
Like, obviously, he's singing, but like the way he's playing, it looks like he's playing. And they don't do the thing where it's a close up on his hands. Now, who knows how good he actually is? Like I can play guitar. I don't know if I can play that good, but I could fake it well enough because I know what And
you're like, these positions are actual positions.
Right, and like, I gotta move my fingers like this, and I'm too slow to do it cleanly. But if I'm just mimicking it, it'll look, But yeah, it looks. If he can't play, fantastic acting because I was convinced he could play.
Love that freeze frame, by the way. But this was kind of interesting. I feel like he just blatantly interrupts and he's like, you stole it. And then they're like, well, like, it's an original song. I don't know who wrote it. He just happened to go up first.
Yeah.
And then I love the one like forced humor, quote unquote, that I'll call it, is I loved when his dad's like, I'm gonna take care of this. He stole it.
Yeah.
I loved all that.
They really made his dad, like, again, developing with the family. Like
redeemed and likable.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we go back to the base and we see, that's the other reason I like this, because we see Mucus watching it. And then at the end, when she comes back, it's not completely out of nowhere. Like she was into it. And again, she's the perfect character to do that.
Yeah. I like too how Mucus has a legitimately good idea that they then end up executing without bringing it up. And Mucus again is the omnipotent, unsung hero of the team,
right?
Of villains, and they just never utilize her, which is why they never win.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
Did you get spoiled for this twist at all, or no?
No, but it didn't shock me.
Yeah, it didn't shock me
Yeah.
either. I heard there was a Void King, but
Right.
once he was in the pod, I'm like, oh, he's Void King. Got it.
I did not know there was a Void King, but I was like, he's in there. They're gonna do something to him, and as soon as she started this little speech, I'm like, okay, he's evil again. And this kind of backs up my theory about the Sporks corrupting her, because she blasted him with Sporks, and he's now corrupted. Because it's not like she changed his mind and won him over. She just blasted him with this evil power, and he's like, yep, I'm evil now.
So I agree, but she also said she's the queen of Sporix.
Right.
So I feel like because she
She's the
blasted
mother
him
of
with
Sporks.
Sporix, or mother of Sporix, sorry. I feel like since she blasted him with Sporix energy, that's why she's able to control him. And she was evil and then was just amplified with the Sporix power, but not necessarily for him, if that
I
makes
still
sense.
think we're going to see something at the end where she gets depowered and either survives or doesn't survive, but has a moment where like, oh, I've made a mistake and it was, the power got to me, and like, some kind of contrition of like, like an Anakin Skywalker kind of moment.
We'll see.
Okay.
I like the design of Void King too. I think it looks cool.
Yeah. Well, he definitely fits. I would guess that he's from Ryu Soldier. Like we know that she's from Tokuger. He definitely has the chess theme that they all have. He even has like a little box like the other guy had. I also like, going back to Javi, he's like, I need to write a new song. They're giving me like a day and a half or whatever. I like that he's like, I can't write a song in a day and a half, which arguably you could, but he's like, that's going to win a contest. It's going to beat what was previously the best song I ever wrote. Like, and I was really worried at the end he was going to bust it out. And I'm glad they didn't, because like, yeah, it isn't realistic that he'd be able to beat the best song he ever wrote in a day and a half. Like,
yeah. Upon rewatching now, I didn't like how they're like, we're jumping around a little bit, but they're like, in order to face the challenge in the A plot, we got to think outside the box. And then Javi immediately was like, thank you for an idea. It's like, well, they kind of said that the whole time. So upon first watch, I'm like, that's kind of dumb. And then I'm like, okay, kind of letting the wheels turn. It's okay by me now.
Oh, thank you for allowing that.
Yeah.
I didn't bother me the first time. That's the kind of synergy between the A and B plot that was fine. And neither the A or the B plot bothered me. Usually it bothers me if one of them is really dumb and it's forced, but they were both fine. The more I talk about this episode, it's a fine episode. It just really suffers from me. Like, even though I knew it probably wouldn't be like a cliffhanger, big deal kind of thing, I really wanted it to be. And it was just a regular episode, a good episode even, but like I wanted more, and it's not its fault, but I can't help how I felt watching it,
Yeah. We see Void King come out and he is just immediately wrecking things. Love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, that was cool. And to your point, you were worried about the power creep of when Zato goes, Dino Night mode, how it was so powerful. I think this was fine.
I agree.
Okay, good. I was worried you're like, this is the exact example, but no, I think it was good. Okay, good.
No, I think it was very good, and it did kind of solve all those problems I brought up when they introduced it of like, I don't know how they're gonna, address this power creep. And it's like Void King one-shotted everybody but him. And I'm like, I'm good with this.
Yeah. The only issue, well, we're jumping ahead. I'll hold that comment. This was not my favorite joke, because I wanted it to be it's morphing time. When he said, I've always been any last words or whatever, he's like, Dino key activate. I've always been fond of that phrase. I wanted it to be morphing time. I understand because he was powering up, but it's like, you've only said it like once. Morphing time would make a better joke, but all right, fine. And then he copies his attack, and the whole back and forth here was very anime. He's like, you have the stomach for it. I prefer the taste of victory. And like, oh, you'll be tasting defeat. Like, it's kind of funny. Like,
yeah,
his own.
It didn't bother me. I liked it actually in this scene, especially from what they were doing. It was very heart of the cards of like, how am I going to beat him? I don't have the power. And instead of using the power of friendship, it was like, oh, I actually have to outsmart you. Okay, cool.
Yes. And they go back to base, and everybody is injured in a way that taking a nap helps, which is common in these sorts of shows.
I guess, yeah. It's like, oh, you broke 9 bones. It's like, oh, you just sleep it off, man.
Nap it, baby.
You're gonna be all right.
Arguably, they have some super technology, like, and maybe it's the morphing grid thing where like it keeps them from having actual injuries. They're just like drained of power.
One thing I'd like to note as well, and the reason that Javi is able to shine in this episode, everybody gets one-shotted but him. Zato's like, yo, get everybody out. I got it. And he's like, better than both of us getting wrecked right now. I'm really smart and work as a team. And it was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. this plan here where they're like, okay, let me copy you, fight yourself. It was a good plan. It was a great plan even, but you got to stop. Here's the problem I had with it. It worked out okay. They kept saying you have to fight against your own style. And I feel like what they meant is powers, because Javi has a fighting style and
Yep.
Zato has a fighting style.
Yep.
Giving Javi Zato's weapon doesn't make him fight like Zato. You know what I mean? It's a little thing. And it was cool that, the Black Ranger got to power up. And I like the whole idea that them fighting and really like the whole strategy makes sense. But what I thought was going to happen is Zato would power up and Javi would fight him looking for a weakness. And he'd say, oh, you're bad when you do this. You're good when you do this. And it was just this like, well, he just figured out how to beat the armor. It had nothing to do with fighting style or who was wearing it.
Yeah, I think it was more like the lines weren't what they should have been to convey the message, but everything else I was fine with.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I liked it overall. I thought when they were talking that it was going to be flipped the other way.
Because it was a thing, like, I always go back to In Space when they're fighting the Blue Psycho, and TJ's like, well, they know how to fight us, but they don't know how to fight us. And then they all, like, fight randomly. It's like, oh, I know how to counter this style, but I don't know how to beat your crane technique. And, like, everybody does that whole jazz. Classic kung fu movie tropes.
But
what
I said, this was cool. He does this little Matrix limbo, and then they find out the big reveals, oh, I can't do it twice in a row. And that's great. I like all this. It's like strategy. It's the two of them working together. It's not like they're not sitting by the bedside like, oh, I'm sorry, I failed you. They're like, okay, well, Zolan's got them. We're going to go do our thing.
Yeah.
And it was camaraderie, second in command stuff. Very good. I can imagine a thing where Zato goes home to his home planet and then Javi takes over, leader of the team. Although I know they usually get their powers back, but you know what I'm saying? Like I can see him taking over at some point.
Yeah, I also really like episodes of Rangers where most of the team is out of the count in some way, shape, or form, and they're like, this needs to work, or we literally have no options. And I feel like that always brings a lot of the good stories.
And Javi had an episode like that like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Remember? And I was talking about how he seemed stronger, my whole theory and everything. Like, so that's the second time he's been involved in that.
Yeah, to me, this was a better example of it wasn't like the reason the team's out is because of a MacGuffin. It's like we're legit like outclassed right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
the MacGuffin episodes, like I like some of them, but they're a little more touchy where some of them don't hit as well as others, where it's like, oh, I'm a giant frog and I ate you all. It's like, well, like, okay, I guess.
Right.
Tag, you're frozen. You're like, okay. Whereas this one, it's like, we literally did everything we could and nothing worked.
Right. And theoretically, although we know he's probably going to be a little bit more nerfed, he's not going to show up in one shot of everybody again because that just never happens. But they're going to be like, oh, well, last time he used my Dino energy and now he knows not to. Like, they'll have some reason. But so he goes to fight him using the technique or using the knowledge that he just gained. I was a little thrown off by this. He lets himself get hit. Let me see if I could. Hold on.
Oh, where he like blocked it?
Yeah, because I thought the whole thing is like, this is a crazy powerful move. I'm going to play with the grid over it. It's this crazy powerful move. And he takes it. He gets hit. And it doesn't like demorph him. It just sort of like he gets like a crack on his armor and he's like, all right, that's fine.
I took it as, and this is 100% headcanon,
yeah,
that when they were in the middle of the field and nowhere, like the blast could go and there was nobody to hurt. For this, if he dodged it, he'd go through a building, he'd blow up cars. Like he had to like stop it in some way and take some of the blow. But obviously, since he was prepared for it, it didn't like totally wreck him, but it did obviously hurt him.
That is good headcanon, and that might make sense. It just, I guess I felt like he wasn't physically able to withstand it, but I guess he is, like because like you said, last time he wasn't prepared for it, I guess. But it did surprise me that he just ate it, but they did, regardless of that technique kind of being like questionable to me, they did use the whole fact that he couldn't fire the same attack twice in a row to win the battle here, which was good.
Yeah.
Playing this.
So that part was cool. I did like, similar to how Zato got hit the first time, this time Void Knight's like, what? And it's like, now's my moment. And then you go in and like, they can't really prepare. So that was cool.
I liked the wait for it joke there where he didn't blow up yet, and he's like, wait for it, boom. And we do see, of course, Void King go flying out the side because he's a main character, so he's not going to be.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the only critique I have, not necessarily with this season, but in general. It's like, actually, I take that back. I have it with this season. I don't have it with Beast Morphers because they actually wrote in like, oh, these guys will blow up all the time. We're just going to keep remaking them until we can't remake them.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas with this, it's like, oh, no, the power of evil saved them today. They're going to go fight it again at some point.
Yeah. And I'm sure this is a budget thing, but it would be cool if they fell out of it, but their armor was all scorched and smoking or cracked. But it always seems like, what, they seem fine? Why are they fine?
Yeah, to me, like, to your point, it could be, that, but I feel like you put a bad CGI hue on them of like they're gonna like blow up, and it's like I have to go heal, and then they get like more Sporix healing energy or some,
it flies out and looks
stuff.
Exactly the same. Yeah, not even smoke. Smoke even would be enough. Just a little smoke flying off them.
Yeah, but just something. But yeah, it was good. Oh, everybody, you're back from your nap. That's good.
Probably the best joke he's ever made.
Yes, hands down.
How long I've been out? Oh, just a few hours. That's always good to check.
Yeah,
that's my Ion impression.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
I appreciate in this I have to say the people who I have the most problems with, I had no problems with them this episode.
Agreed. Yeah, Javi. Several characters got to shine, and the rest were all fine. Nobody was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually am liking this episode even more, and I came in already kind of liking it.
I was at a very neutral position, and I'm going up from there. And I think, again, a big part of it is my expectation going in, which is dissipating as we go over it again.
Yeah.
Zato comes in, and I like that Javi's like kind of annoyed. It's like, why did you go with, like, I was around, I could have come, and he's like, you're right, But like, look, it's this, and he's not flying off the handle. Like, what? He's just like, hey, man, excuse me. Wish you would have told me. Like,
I also like how he is like kind of messed up a little bit from taking that attack, and they're like, "Did you go through the garbage?" He's like, "No."
What happened is under the armor, none of my clothes got messy, but somehow my face got this dirt on it.
It's like, yeah, just here's makeup department, just a couple of these.
Yeah.
So we're back. We're at the competition. Now she has a different ensemble, but still a cowboy hat, and Javi comes out and, he thought outside the box and he does the song and everybody's like, you're doing the same song. It's like, don't worry, I got this. Yeah. I will just do this better than the other copycat person.
Yeah, which I do think is a good way to win it. Like I said, despite my real life, like this song isn't as good, but in universe, this works and makes sense. And he plays instruments. And then, she's like, fine, I guess he wins.
Yeah.
And then like, yay, Javi. But wait, we have a last-minute addition, and what you call herself, Moo or Mew Mew?
Mew Mew. I'm so glad this turned into what it was and not what I thought it was going to be. Where anytime toward the end of the episode, Jane or J-Borg has a line that's more than 5 seconds, I'm like, oh no.
I thought J-Borg was going to go, it's you, Jane, and then put on some video or something.
Exactly. I thought the same thing, and I'm like, please don't. No. But yeah, this was great. I loved it.
I also, I did too. I also like how Sly there is in it for just one little piece, but he's like, oh, not telling me about the contest. Like, he went on to do it, which makes sense because he's a showman.
Yeah.
He's like, it was, and then she gets blown up, and everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, and Wreckmate's just like, oh, well.
Yeah, I should be above this tomfoolery, but here I am.
I am ruining the fun. Here we go.
Yeah. And then, of course, Javi wins. And then his dad, still being a cheese ball, he starts mucking around, taking pictures with the trophy.
And they're like, this isn't yours. He's like, but the internet doesn't need to know that.
Yeah, it's realistic. I coming into this, I was gonna give it like a C or a C plus, but I think I'm gonna give it a B actually, or maybe
I was gonna say I'm not giving it a B. I came in with like C plus. I think I bumped it to B minus the more we talked about the highlights.
I think we talked each other into it, and my expectations were tempered the second time around. So a good, solid, average middle season episode, which did a better job with some characters that we don't normally enjoy as much.
This is a prime example of an episode that, like, whenever I'm really frustrated in an episode, this is the benchmark of what I want to show of, like, this episode isn't spectacular, but it does everything correctly. And it shows, like, there wasn't any crazy special effects they need to do to make it better. We didn't pad the runtime with bad humor. It was all subtle humor. It was good character development.
Yeah,
The A plot
stuff was good. Yeah.
everything made sense.
Yeah.
It didn't feel forced. It was just there.
And there was even a little bit of progression in the overall plot of Void Knight becoming Void King and all that stuff. So,
exactly.
Yeah. If this was the standard, and sometimes it got a little worse and other times it got much better, that would be fine. But this isn't the standard we've seen.
This is above average, unfortunately.
Yes, but
that is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't remember how long ago it was, but just even thinking of this episode and that episode where like they're tracking the octopus.
Yeah,
where it's like, why would you even make that? Like, if you showed those side by side, you're like, by the way, this is the same show.
Yeah, pardon my yawn here. Yeah, that I hated that episode so much.
Yeah, it's just egregious. Like little things like that. It's like you don't need to do it. So,
well, this comes back to my biggest complaint, and I think we both said this, but the inconsistency.
Yeah.
Inconsistency within certain characters from episode to episode. Like it's just inconsistent. It's weirdly inconsistent.
Yeah. Oh, last episode, was the one with the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, Izzy is not the best, and I don't like her in this episode. And this one, it's like everybody's good, and Javi's even better, and he is my second favorite on the team.
Yeah, I think at this point he's my second favorite as well.
I don't want to say. See, I'm a sucker for Reds, so I can't tell if my bias is I like the Red Ranger the best, and it happens to be Zato, or if I legitimately like Zato better than Javi. But they're getting closer.
I'm not as much of a sucker for Reds, but I do like Zato. But here's my because I was thinking about this. I think Zato started strong.
Yeah,
and has had a little bit of development as we've gone, but he kind of started here, and Javi has been moving up. And so in some ways, like, who do I like better personally? I guess I do still like Zato better as but in terms of watching it objectively, like the characters on screen, Javi's a better character. He's more interesting because he has developed and grown into being someone who could lead the team and who has made peace with his family and who figured out ways to do it. Whereas, like I said, Zato just started there. So it's a little less interesting to, developmental wise.
Yeah, it is interesting that for Ollie and Javi, they both even though traditionally Blue Ranger is second in command and Black or Green isn't, it is interesting that their personalities seem shifted, for lack of a better term, of the norm that we're used to on the teams and the dynamics.
I'm trying to think of how many Blue second in commands versus, because I'm thinking sometimes I'm thinking in RPM, I feel like Yellow was second in command.
I'm thinking SPD, Time Force, In Space.
All right, yeah.
And that's just off the top of my head.
Yeah, and Billy was arguably second in command in Mighty Morphin.
I'd say Billy was second in command in Mighty Morphin season 2/3.
Yeah,
3.
Season 1, I don't think the hierarchy was even that developed.
No, there wasn't established in that. I think
Zio Red was second in command.
So who?
That was weird. I said Zio.
How was Red second in command?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Mighty Morphin season
2.
Never mind. I was getting mixed up. Yeah, no. Basically I was making the joke that Tommy was the leader, even though Red was there when he was white.
Yeah, it was a thing. They tried to make Rocky leader, and then they quickly went, all right, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Let's just push Tommy.
Yeah, I guess you're right about the blue thing. I hadn't really thought about that switch. But yeah, it was a good episode. Better than we both thought, I guess.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to the next episode, but the next episode when they come back will probably just be another regular episode because
it's a thing. I don't remember how many episodes this season is. I'm gonna assume 22.
Yeah, and maybe a Christmas episode. They do that sometimes.
Yeah, which I always hate when they do those at the end of a series.
Oh yeah. Well, do they come see because we're watching them streaming on Netflix or whatever? Shouldn't it air in the middle? Like whenever Christmas actually is?
No.
Yeah, you're right. And at least the last couple seasons, it's everything's been defeated and we're all done. Whoops, one more adventure for Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, because that last one I think was the Santa one. They're like, man, can you believe Void Knight's gone? By the way, what's Santa up to? And you're like, oh, because we watched them out of order and we're like,
yeah, that's true.
Sweet.
Well, next week, as I said, we're done with Dino Fury for now, which is weird because let's say there's 11 episodes. That might be the last 11 episodes of Power Rangers as we know it. It's still not confirmed. The rumors have been flying forever, but the evidence is starting to mount up that whatever Power Rangers is after this probably won't be this.
Yeah.
But we will finish out this season and see where it goes. But next week we will not be doing an official one. After that, we'll probably come back and do Bloodlines of the Grid 2. Is probably what we will do. We come back after that. Who knows? So suggestions are welcome. Throw them there. And for next week, if there's like a question or you want to see a toy or something from one of us, or more me than Big Dog. I mean, you could throw up an answer to a question, but you won't be home. But throw it in there, and we'll try to throw something up just to keep things moving along. But until then, I've been Gazbot.
I continue to be the Big Dog.
That's true. And
to the power.
To the power.
See you guys later.
And credits.
So one interesting thing I was reading that I don't know how much of it is a rumor or not, but apparently JDF's kind of done with Power Rangers, or so he claims.
It's not a rumor because I've seen him post about it on his social media.
Okay.
So it's not a rumor. It's something he has said. Now, how true is that, or how might he second guess himself later? Who knows? Because he could always go back and be like, because I wanted to not ruin the surprise. But he's definitely focusing on Legend of the White Dragon, which is one of those on the one hand, he's like, I'm getting too old to be doing this stuff, so I'm doing something exactly like it.
Yeah, right. I think it has nothing to do with Power Rangers as a whole, and more he doesn't like Hasbro running Power Rangers, and they're not giving him the same kind of treatment that
he was the brand ambassador or whatever title he had for a while. Yeah.
So that's why he's like, yep.
Yeah. Have you noticed in the last couple years, his look has really underwent his civilian real life look has underwent a significant change, and I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think he has his own style, and there's certain things he likes, and if he likes it, he takes it to 1,000.
Well,
for better or worse.
I would say, within the last 10 years, I jumped back into Power Rangers, and I ran into him a couple times. You did too, and he kind of looked the way he's always looked, kind of, oh, I'm wearing a backwards hat, or I'm wearing a hoodie, or I'm doing, I look like somebody that's just kind of a regular dude that's athletic, and I was on Power Rangers, and even had his spiky hair for a while, and he had his little goatee or whatever. But he didn't look significantly different than he had forever. And then he was like, okay, I'm going to start wearing Armani suits. And he looked like a business person. And I was like, okay, he's trying to be businessy, and maybe he had a little bit of a beard. And that phase only lasted for a year or two. And now he's in this, I got huge Elvis sunglasses, and I got rings, and I'm wearing a velour suit or whatever. And more power to him, whatever. I'm not one to criticize somebody's fashion choices, but it's just is really specific. It makes me feel like he's about that. I'm wondering if this is connected to the not wanting to be the Green Ranger or Tommy Oliver anymore, because it feels like he's I'm ready for a new chapter of my life. This is the new me, and here we go. I'm going to open up a car dealership or something. I don't know. It just seems like something
Yeah, I followed him at various points stronger than others, and sometimes he'd be all about certain main brands for his wallet or his pants or his belt or whatever. And this, I think, is just it's more outward displayed than maybe it used to be before, or maybe we just noticed certain photos recently where it's a lot of it all together at once, as opposed to a thing here, a thing there.
The reason I brought it up, we're doing a lot after the show today. If you don't watch after the credits, you could miss some stuff. The reason I brought it up because of what you were saying was I saw him post something at a comic store signing whatever. Because it's clear he's not I'm not going to sign. I'm never going to that isn't the thing. But I have 2 pictures with him where he looks like Tommy Oliver. You know what I mean? Now, you wouldn't know that's him unless you've seen pictures of it. It used to be, if you saw him on the street, you might go, "Hey, isn't that?" And he was with kids and stuff, and with kids it's already weird because oh, he's much older than the show you just watched. But it's I don't know, it's just a weird thing of if you don't know who he is and you see him at a convention, you're not going to know who he is.
Yeah, you would have to specifically know who you're looking for,
Yeah.
and not like, oh, that's clearly a celebrity. I wonder which one.
Right. Yeah. And so it's, but that's why I wonder if these two things go hand in hand. Where he's like, well, I'll still do these signings, but I'm not going to be trying to look like Tommy Oliver anymore. This is the version of me that I've been wanting to be for 10 years. Now I'm letting it out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's curious. I think what it really boils down to is once Dino Fury comes out, what's next? And that I think will answer so many of these questions that everybody has.
Yeah. Well, despite all our rambling, this has been a relatively short one. So
I know. That's why I was like, yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, no official episode next week. We'll be back the week after Bloodlines of the Grid 2. And goodbye.